Guys, we are not canceling no one. We are not writing to DSTV. Why are we getting hundreds of thousands of rands worth of lawyers for kids? This kid said stuff that are very racist. The public outcry is warranted. The conversation that we are about to have is much needed, and the timing is perfect. But these are kids who are going to learn from what they did. We must not overkill. Let's not overkill it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the On the podcast.
Am I allowed to swear there?
In Sweden.
Yeah, I know we said let's not blame the government.
It's just sad when we start them
No, man.
becoming indoctrinated view on me.
Hi guys, I'm Emilio Tobias and welcome back to another episode of the On the Contrary podcast. We're a podcast talking about podcasts, which is the mini video. Now we're doing open chats. I don't really watch open chats, not because there's anything wrong with the show, but we've seen now the type of stuff that they talk about in the show. They say very, maybe shock is the wrong word, but they speak openly, and these are open conversations between kids. The thing I feel when I do watch them is that I do realize that I am no longer that age. When I was that age, I was not that age, but these guys must be like 20, 22 max, and they've now gone viral in the spaces that they don't normally go viral in, because they do go viral probably weekly for the stuff they speak about. But now they've come out. You've seen the video. If you haven't, you can pause and go check it out. Search Open Chats Colored People. They've deleted the video, which is cool. Some people complain that they deleted the video. Yes, they deleted the video because they now realize, like, oh shit, that was the wrong thing to say. But essentially, I think the guy's name is Unto, says something along the lines of he's heard or he's found that colored people chow each other, referring to colored people that are willing to smash their cousins or siblings or something along those lines. Something that suggests colored people's propensity for ancestral kind of means the same thing in this regard, or willingness to do first cousin, second cousin type of a thing. And the proposition for this idea is kind of supported by, I can believe that, because I know colored people are crazy, colored people do weird things, which also is just for me, what I hear there's someone who does not understand people. And maybe first of all, the shocking part or the weird part for this type of conversation is that they are young people. I, for one, have been quite happy, or I feel peace when I think about the fact that my children, or even children who are born after 2005, children that are born after the year 2000, that they would be living and be around so many kids that they would not have time to be able to see racial differences, because for the first time, these kids are the ones that are really in interracial schools, and they will know people from different races personally instead of just knowing them from afar. So when you know someone personally, their personal traits is what will resonate with you more than having heard about a person that you don't know and the type of things that those people do. I've lived in a black township. We were the only colored people in the township. It's not Trevor Noah's story. I did not grow up in apartheid. This was after apartheid. My father may have lived there during apartheid, but I didn't grow up during apartheid. I grew up in the 90s. I was born in the 90s, and I lived in a black township and went to school in a colored township. Now and then I would live in the colored township. And the interesting thing is, colored people speak about black people and the things they do and what they do and what they don't do, and they do this. And black people speak about colored people on what they do and what they don't do. And these are generally parents or older people who have been hurt in the past in situations where black people and colored people were pitted against each other. And sometimes human beings, when there's a gun to your head or there's a white man over your shoulder, you can do terrible things. Terrible things, they call it coercion, they call it power dynamics nowadays, but colored people and black people have really hurt each other for the amusement or to impress the white man. Now, all of those things that we're willing to do to each other, willing is a strong word, but all the things that we happened to do to each other under the control of the white oppressor, white people. By the way, this conversation is just between us. I don't want white people to participate just for now. Let us solve our things. So, I lived in a black neighborhood, and I went to school in a colored neighborhood. I have family in the black neighborhood. I have family in the colored neighborhood. And colored people have things they say about black people. And the thing is, that when I was in Soweto, I would almost forget what they said up until I went back to the colored neighborhood or to the people who would say those things. And this is in both directions, by the way. I would always come back and realize, like, no man, this thing that they say that black people do, I have not seen it, bruh. And I have all my friends were black, all my neighbors were black. We were the only ones who weren't black. We slept over at my friends' houses. I ate at my friends' houses. All the stories that I could have heard and had the opportunity to see those things for real, I never saw, especially all the negative stuff. And vice versa. Black people have things they say about colored people. Hey, colored people do this. Colored people are like this. Hey, you can't trust the colored guy. The colored guy will do this. I never saw those things. And when I was in Soweto, I was a colored guy. When I was in Eldos, I would be made fun of for living in Soweto. So I was a black guy amongst colored people, and I'm the colored guy amongst black people. And just a little bit of background is the reason why I really wish that black and colored people can figure this thing out. Because all of this is just remnants of what we were fed. And the point about young people saying this, young people are fed these things from their parents or their grandparents. And generally, the younger you are, the more likely you are to tell your grandparents, but no, man, Jerome is not like that. I know what you're saying, but Jerome is not like that. And I have black friends who still feel a funny way about colored people and still aren't able to see past this thing. And that's because they also weren't exposed to colored people their whole lives. They've just been exposed to colored people now. In fact, me and my family are not a breath of fresh air, an anomaly to them, because they didn't understand or know that colored people can be like this, but still not able to let go completely of all the stereotypes that you've heard about colored people. Now, I don't know where the stereotype comes from. Because colored people are very willing to do incest, and maybe why there's a racial connotation. Because I'll tell you, I know some black people who have children with their second cousins. I might know a colored person who has children like with a second cousin, but I've never attributed it to a race. I know of black and colored people who have married or had children with people they weren't exactly siblings with, but kind of grew up together, like cousins from opposite ends of the family. I've seen that on both sides. So these guys might have been unfortunate enough to come across two colored people who have done a similar thing, or have been in such a brow-raising type of relationship, and that may have been enough to want to correlate it to race or a racist willingness to do whatever. So, yeah, man, help me understand that part. I know just as many black people as colored people who have endeavored in, is it second cousins? It is incestual. And then also like people who are basically your cousins or brother and sister, you just don't have any blood relation. I've seen those people have children. Then there's a thing, maybe. There's a thing that colored people do. So maybe this is where this comes from. So I'll give them benefit of the doubt. Nyana. So everyone cheats. But colored people, or a common colored excuse, when you are cheating as a colored person, then you say, no, this is my cousin. And then, so your girlfriend will chill with you and your side piece under the pretenses or the idea that she's your cousin. Because colored people generally don't look anything like the other people in their family. We know we are mixed, and your ancestry can come from anywhere and decide at any time that it's you gonna look like this. So I look nothing like my cousins, by the way. So maybe a common colored thing is that when they are cheating, they will tell you that no, this is not my, especially if you know their girlfriend, they'll tell you that that's their cousin. And you can only do that if you are cheating with a colored girl as a colored person. You probably can't do that if you're cheating with a black girl. But even so, you probably could. So, what do we say? Do we cancel these guys? No, bruh. I think we must not find any reason and just wait for a goal scoring opportunity for when someone has done something wrong that you want them to suffer as a result. They must, bro, this is a learning opportunity. I've seen a lot of black people speak out against open chats now, and I want to speak about a bigger issue in the dynamic of black and colored people as it relates in the South African context, but that for later. I see a lot of black people speak out against it. I see a lot of intellectual coloreds who talk about what it means, and probably that's what I'm doing now. What it means to be colored. The thing you don't understand is that if we had to, guys, these things are going to happen every now and then. There are clowns in every race that's going to say something fucked up. Opportunity, outcry, opportunity to teach. Now, there's this notion, but I feel like it's been widely dispelled and people don't peddle it anymore. Where people say, and I think it's a thing from America and it's somehow been adopted all over, that says black people can't be racist. Black people can't be racist, number one. If you do still believe that, yo man, update yourself. Update this thing. Update your knowledge. And we can argue maybe in America because they say that black people can't be racist because they are not in power. They don't have the agency to be able to act on racism, and racism requires you to be able to institute systems of oppression against a specific race. If that's not you chapeauing a definition to back yourself out of something, that's weird. And those types of arguments really undermine black people. And you think it's a favor, but it's a thing to make your impact and your agency less, if it doesn't take your agency away. It's like, are you less of a person that your hate of someone is seen as minimal and minuscule? That for me is also racist against black people, to suggest that black people can't be racist. Why I bring that up? There's also this notion that, yes, in the hierarchy set by colonialists and apartheid, was that whites were the highest, English, then Afrikaans. Then you had Indian people, then you had colored people, then you had black people, then you had indigenous people. We forget that. We forget that even in that hierarchy, black Africans were seen as higher than Khoisans and the like. And there are still some remnants of black people who feel they are superior to Khoi and San type of people. A lot of people feel like that because they're still seen as very primitive, which is a very primitive way of thinking. But someone spoke about something about colored and black people and why the interaction is so rough. I don't know who spoke about it, if it was DJ Waras or one of those podcasts, where they spoke about the fact that what were the dynamics and why is it that the English white people were seen as removed from the system, and why is it that Afrikaners were seen as the ones that were peddling the apartheid so much? Why they are the ones to blame? Why are they the only whites to blame? And the English whites are kind of sitting at the back with their British passports. Apparently, what had happened was when the Afrikaner party eventually won the elections to be in power, the English saw that coming, that it was inevitable that this group of oppressed at the time, slightly oppressed or second-class citizens at the time, were slightly oppressed, were slightly on the poorer side. They knew that they would eventually outnumber the English, and in the vote would go that way. They say that the English whites had already now started cultivating the system so that the English whites in society would generally fill higher positions in corporate, in society, and whatever have you. So even though the Afrikaners would be in power now, the Afrikaners were now brought out of poverty through state-owned companies, through government programs and all of that, WEE, White Economic Empowerment, or Afrikaner Economic Empowerment. And those white people were given now middle management jobs, and they were delegated to be the ones to supervise over the lower labor, which was colored and black people. No, Indian people. So Indian people were then put into supervisor type of roles, and the Afrikaners would be the ones supervising over Indian and colored people. Colored people will also sometimes get the supervisor roles, and then the worst roles or the least paying roles would go to black people. So it was always in that setting where colored and black people were interacting, where colored people had been put on some sort of a pedestal. And my man, if you are a human, you know that this guy, how often is it that your boss is dumber than you, knows less than you, he's just able to give instructions, he doesn't even know or have the skill that you have. He didn't work his way up there. So I imagine all those types of things happened to break down the colored and black relationship, because colored and black people were tight and used to live together at one point in time. Now, you have that precedent or that system that has been set and put in our heads that colored people are seen as higher than black people. And black people believe that to this day, colored people believe that to this day, and it is absolutely not true. Even if you look at who are the poorest people in South Africa, who own the least amount of this, that, and the other, the stats are going to tell you that colored people have more. But what the stats don't show you is that, and I may be biased in this, but think of this idea. When you're measuring household income, that's how one of the measures of who's the poorest. They say that black people's average household income is 90,000 rand a year, and colored people is about 110, 120,000 rand a year. That seems like colored people on average are doing better. But I don't even think that's true, because the way colonialism and apartheid was set up, remember where and how colored people were made. So colored people generally do not live in rural areas or villages just because of how colored people came about, and it would have happened in town where white people and black people met to be able to make colored people. Now, that's not the only way to make colored people, by the way. If you take the rural areas, and yes, there is poverty in the rural areas, but when calculating the household income, people in rural areas and villages don't need a lot of money to sustain themselves, and they might not even need actual employment. A government grant is enough for them, not because they need the grant per se. The grant is there to buy small things in their house, but otherwise food, sustenance, water, all those things are readily available to them. People have livestock, people have small farms for their household and whatever. So if you look at that person and realize that this person is making 1,000 rand a month, that's going to bring the black average down and give a false impression of how bad of how bad that number is or how good that number is. Colored people, on the other hand, generally are in towns and cities where employment is definitely needed. And they earn so little that because they're in a city that costs so much, it's even more of a disadvantage living in a city. You have even less because you have rent, you have transport, you have all the things to pay. So the notion of colored people doing financially better in general than black people is also off. I think that is a idea or thing that allows people in power, people in government, to be able to deprioritize getting colored people out of poverty over black people instead of seeing it as one group, which is my goal and my purpose in this video or in my life, is to let us realize that black people and colored are the same thing. If anything, the separation of black and colored people should be no different between the separation between Xhosa people and Pedi people. I think we should all be considered black Africans, even those of us who do not have African ancestry, because of where we were placed and how things have turned out. You think we were given an advantage, but the advantage or the kickstart or the extra toilet in your house or the supervisory role that you were given helped the community in any way. It did not. A colored person, or the word colored, if we are keeping it, should not be seen as any different to a tribal group, even though colored people are not a tribe. Some people are Zulu colored people, some people are Xhosa colored people, some people are colored people from Limpopo who have Pedi and Tsonga ancestry. So this thing is tricky. May we, the point of this, may we stop seeing colored people as higher class citizens than black people. And I'm saying this on both sides because it allows for racism like this to be perpetuated, and it comes out and we don't realize how detrimental it is to the entire community. Colored people are made fun of for drinking and doing drugs, but the same people who are against oppression and who are against, who are for undoing the injustices of colonialism, laugh at the fact and put it on colored people that they are drug addicts and alcoholics, not realizing there was a system implemented to get colored people to be the way they are, and it's been exacerbated by a black government who is still hurt by the things that happened in apartheid and is unable to see past their own struggle and see the struggle of colored people. So, Gaten McKenzie has now instructed all his lawyers to go after these kids, and I'm not a fan of it. But I bring up Gaten McKenzie because the reason why his party is doing so well, because there's now someone who's not playing those games and unapologetically fighting for the voices of colored people to be heard, which is necessary. And I don't think colored people want to dominate. I don't think colored people want to take over, but colored people do need a seat at the table because they've been overlooked for so long. That being said, yo man, I wish those guys all the best. They need to go through this thing and learn and find out what they said wrong, because they might still apologize and still in the back of their minds believe the stuff that they have said. But I'm Emilio Tobias. Please drop me a comment if you want to know anything about colored people, about the situation, about what I think. But give me your views as well. Let's figure it out. But South Africa needs to move forward, and we need to, yo man, let's not put these things in our kids. Let's not put this. I've had fights with people whose parents were in the struggle, whose parents did this. They kind of saw struggle people going in and out of their houses. And I've had fights with them with the idea of, it was a debate because I actually can't tell you what to do with your kids. But it was a debate about, let's not teach our children that they are less than, or yes, don't hide the fact that apartheid happened and there was such a system. I don't teach your black child or your colored child that they are less than anyone. And telling them, you are the best, you are the, no. The people who believe they are better than other people don't tell themselves that they are better. Like, we all don't know. We're all doing this thing for the first time. It's still a transitional period in South Africa. But do not teach your children that they are less than, and whatever qualms and issues that you come from the past, from apartheid and from the 90s, and we went to schools and our teachers were racist. Our teachers were racist. They were the older ones. The kids weren't necessarily racist. They were ones here and there. But as we move forward, let's not put those things in our children. Let's not put those things in our children. Please. Please. That's all we have time for. I'm Emilio Tobias, and this is the On the Contrary podcast. If you had an issue with anything that I have to say, let me know in the comments. But thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I think I've said that for the 6th time. All right. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the On the Contrary podcast.
Am I allowed to swear in here?
In Sweden.
Yeah, I know we said let's not blame the government.
It's just sad when we start them
No, man.
becoming indoctrinated. Your view on me is